Okay.
When it happened, I didn't quite know what it meant. I didn't quite understand why there were tears streaking down my mother's face, why I had to dress nicely when the weather was so cold and gray, why cancer would take someone away forever, or why my grandma had looked so empty. Empty of the Slovak spirit that had always been so warm and comforting. Empty of the person I knew to be family. My grandma passed away when I was too little to fully comprehend what death meant, but I was old enough to know its definition and to see how it affected the people around me. Some of my memories of her only added to the guilt I felt when she passed away. Once, when my mom brought me to visit her at her house on Canisius Lake, as we stood waiting outside her door, my mom said something to me. She said that I needed to spend time with my grandma, because she wouldn't be around forever. To this day, I'm not sure why I've retained this memory specifically, when it happened at least a few years before my grandma died. But those words came back to haunt me when it happened, and affected me for years after her passing. I felt terrible. I felt like I should have spent more time with her, should have treasured every moment. After all that time it weighed on me, the chains of a memory that wouldn't relent until I had suffered enough. I finally realized I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself because I was only a child. I was only a child who didn't know any better, and despite my lack of understanding back then, I will always love and miss my grandma. How could I not? Not all of my memories added to the guilt that used to eat away at me. I remember the slight, soothing Slovak accent in her voice. I remember her love for puzzles, Dancing with the Stars, and the Buffalo Bills. I remember her skills as a cook and an artist. I remember playing push rummy often with her. I remember how she would merrily sing with my aunts and uncles on holidays. And I remember how she truly embodied the spirit of her nickname, Mother Teresa. Stepping into her home on the lake, even when it was early winter, always made me feel that a warm, fuzzy blanket had been wrapped around me, a comforting blanket that reminded me of my grandma. There are memories that hurt me, certainly, but there are memories that do the opposite and bring a smile to my face every time I find myself recalling them. When I was little, I spent a lot of time at her lake house. My mom would often bring me to visit my grandma on the weekends, and in the summer. When she passed away, I began to miss the time I spent with her and wished I could get that time back. One event in particular I missed is when the whole family, all my aunts and uncles and cousins, would gather at my grandma's home on the lake to celebrate the 3rd of July. Not the 4th of July, like everyone else, but the 3rd. We would all come together to swim in the lake and to eat fresh summer corn from Powers, and I miss it. We would play push rummy and have seaweed wars, and I miss it. When the sun went down, we would put torches along the shoreline, mimicking everyone else around the lake to form the ring of fire, and soon after we would watch fireworks light up the sky, and I miss that. When my grandma passed away, we had to sell her lake house, and the new owners made extensive renovations. One of my aunts went there and asked if she could take some pictures, which she then posted on Facebook. I still haven't looked at them. I'm afraid of losing the memories I have of my grandma's home and the time I spent with her there. So I haven't looked, and I don't plan to. By now I know it wouldn't be the same. And I'm okay with that. I want to preserve my memories of her as they are, and for now this is the best way. Things don't ever stay the same, they're constantly changing. For the last several years, my family hasn't celebrated the 3rd of July or the 4th. Some of my cousins have. They just spend their time with their dad's side of the family now. They still had those traditions to look forward to each year. I didn't. So for the next several years, we tried to celebrate but didn't have the heart to. It was only this last summer that we finally did something. My dad was away on a business trip, but my mom and I decided to take a trip to visit my uncle in Michigan. So we did, and for the first time in a long time, we made some happy memories again on the 3rd and 4th of July. These new memories will never replace the old ones, but they've helped me to heal a little, and they're just as special. My grandma had a very strong and beautiful faith. She attended church religiously every weekend, even when she went on vacation. So she always believed that God had a plan for her, for all of us. I don't know myself if that's true, but it does make me wonder. She always loved birds, and she said that if she ever came back after death, she would want to be represented as a bird. Some of my aunts and uncles have different birds they associate with her, but my mom has always preferred the robin. A few days ago, when she crossed my thoughts, I noticed a robin on the ground outside of my car. While some like to say that spring is here when the robins are, I always smile and think of my grandma.
Very nice.